Salam everyone. In this video I'm responding to an atheist who attacked Zakir Naik and claimed that belief in heaven and hell and the unseen doesn't make sense. So let's see what he says and then I'll make my response inshallah.
Creator, if he has absolute knowledge of everything, probably has some reasonably good amount of expertise that you can rely on.
Duh! Breathe air!
Similar to lead a life, we have to ask the expert. Now, who is the expert?
The person whose life it is. Maybe not when they're young and inexperienced, but once they get older, yeah, you could say they're an expert to an extent on their own life. But at the very least, they're the main stakeholder.
Who is the expert? The person who created us.
Why? Why would that be the default answer? You're not a table saw. You're not a mindless tool. You're a sentient entity, separate from the god. The god might have created you wanting you to do a certain thing, hoping that you would, but that doesn't make it objectively true any more than if your mom and dad want you to do something specific. Be a doctor, whatever. It's a preference, not a truth. But again, just like with morality, or just like with the berries, this comes down to the distinction between your subjective preferences and the objective consequences in reality of your actions. Whether you care if you're poisoned is your subjective preference. Whether you are poisoned is not.
He is committing the faulty comparison fallacy. First of all, parents and God is not the same thing. Okay? I mean, like, parents didn't create you. Parents don't, keep you alive. Parents don't, make you breathe or make your heart beat. Like, you don't completely rely on your parents the way you rely on God. So there's a massive difference between listen to God and listen to parents. So they're not the same thing. Also, this is another thing he fundamentally misunderstands about Islam as a religion. In Islam, we don't believe that our lives belongs to us. Okay, that's not a concept that we have. In Islam, it is clear that everything in existence belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also saying that your life belongs to you, even though you didn't create it, you don't keep it alive. It's like me saying that if I'm a coma patient, then when I'm on life support, that life support belongs to me. No, I mean, yes, you are staying alive by the help of the life support, but just because you're staying alive with the help of the life support doesn't mean that thing belongs to you. Same thing here, like the organs and your whole body, just because, you're sentient and you rely on these things to stay alive, doesn't mean they belong to you. They still belong to God because, He created it, He maintains it, and that's the thing. Like, we didn't create our body, so why would it belong to us? Like, even if it's sentient, it doesn't make a difference. Like, we didn't create it. We don't create it and we don't manage it, so it's not ours. Like, for example, if I'm in like a house, and if I'm born in like a house, and I need that house, does it mean that that house now belongs to me simply because I need it, or simply because I'm relying on it? Simply because I'm sentient? No. I mean, like, that house is still not mine, even if I need it. You need your life, to stay alive. Doesn't mean it belongs to you. It's still created by someone else, in this case, God. It's still maintained by Him. You're still kept alive by Him. Like, He's the one who gave it to you. With the condition that you worship Him, then in that case, your life doesn't belong to you, actually. And this is exactly what the Quran says. For example, in Quran chapter 53:31, it says, "And to Allah belongs whatever is in the heavens and whatever is in the earth. And we will surely test you with something of fear and hunger and loss of wealth and lives and foods. But give good tidings to the patient, who, when disaster strikes them, say, indeed we belong to Allah, and indeed to Him we will return. Those are the ones upon whom there are blessings from their Lord, and mercy as well. And those are the ones who are on the right path." You can remember this in Quran, chapter 2, 155 to 157. And this is what we believe. We don't believe that our life is our own. We believe that our life belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
If you say about power, that means you believe in a religion. Because religion, by definition, according to Oxford Dictionary, religion means a belief in a supernatural controlling power.
According to the Oxford Dictionary, that's the definition. Really, that seems like an exceptionally simplistic definition for Oxford. I mean, even you don't define it that simply. Before you said it's a way of life. So at the very least, there's more to religion than just believing there's some kind of controlling power. Let me just take a look here. A. Belief in or acknowledgement of some superhuman power or powers, especially a god or gods. That's the closest to what you said they defined it as, which is typically manifested in obedience obedience, reverence, and worship. Such a belief as part of a system defining a code of living, the way of life thing you said, especially as a means of achieving spiritual or material improvement. B. You're just picking the definition that you find convenient in the moment. What if you believe in a power and you don't follow it as your way of life? Well, then it conflicts with your previous definition. Could you try for just some consistency?
Okay, so here he accuses Dr. Zakir Naik of being inconsistent. And basically he says that this is how Oxford Dictionary describes religion as. However, before that, he says religion is a way of life. Then he says that isn't these two things contradictory?
There is no conflict between the two definitions, because if a person acknowledges there is a God or a power, then proceeds to not worship that power, then that becomes his way of life. So this would fit into Zakir Naik's definition. So there is no contradiction here. Here he is committing the scope fallacy. He is purposefully limiting the scope of what Zakir Naik means when he says way of life. Basically he is saying, Zakir Naik says religion is a way of life. Therefore, agnosticism cannot be a religion. Issue, it doesn't follow because ignoring God is a way of life. The argument is fallacious because it limits the scope of Zakir Naik's definitions, without any explanation, which is why the argument doesn't follow.
Ask me, brother, you being a doctor, you believe in hell? You believe in heaven? You believe in jinn? You believe in life after death? So my logic says, inshallah, even the other 20% in the Quran, which science hasn't reached up to that level. Science cannot prove it. Maybe science will prove 50 years later or 10 years later. But today science hasn't reached that level. So in this way, I believe whatever 20% which science hasn't proved to be right or wrong, inshallah even that will be right.
Okay, so just to be clear about what's being claimed here. The Quran supposedly makes some scientific claims, which supposedly are verified. So even if we take the ridiculous arguments on their face, and so why would we assume that if these ideas about the natural world are correct, therefore the ideas about the supernatural world are correct?
Because it logically follows. So the actual argument I will present in the form of like a modus ponens. If in the past Quran said things not known to human beings, then chances are the Quran is not written by human beings. In the past, Quran did say things not known to human beings. Conclusion. Therefore, the Quran was not written by human beings. So again, this is given, you accept that Quran is historically preserved, which is true. And again, we can prove that almost 100% of the manuscripts is preserved from within the first few hundred years. So yeah, we can historically prove that Quran was from that time period. Then if you use a Occam's razor, then the best explanation is that it's been revealed by God. The most logical conclusion will be that the Quran is the word of God. So if God says something about nature that is accurate, chances are that what he says about things that are beyond nature is also accurate. Okay, because it logically follows. Chances of it being accurate is very, very, very high. So based on this, you can basically come to a very reasonable conclusion that believing in things like the unseen or ilmul ghaib is completely rational. It's logical. And that's the point that Zakir Naik is making. Heaven and hell does exist. It logically follows. Now, of course, you still have to take a leap of faith here and say that I believe in these things, but it's a reasonable faith. Okay, it's a rational, reasonable faith. It's not blind faith.
Salam everyone, this is the end of the second video in this series. Inshallah, in the next video we will discuss, does the concept of heaven and hell morally and logically make sense? If you guys like the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe and click bell icon for more. If you want to support me, then please consider supporting me on Patreon or on YouTube membership. See you guys next time, inshallah.